Yeah, it was a somewhat strange time for me because I'd come out of film school in Boston and quickly gave up filmmaking. Like I said, I wasn't a prodigy. I wasn't someone who was going to be like amazing out the gate. And so what I really needed was practice. And anybody who works in film knows that practice in filmmaking costs a lot of money and a lot of time. And I just thought at the time, I don't need that. I don't have that time and I don't have that money, And so I needed something where I could practice every day. And so I moved to Portland, Oregon to a friend's grandparents' house that they kindly let us rent for really cheap. And I just was writing, I was looking for that next thing. And I just decided I'm going to write a novel. I'm going to sit down and do it. So that was the circumstances. So yes, I was writing every day. But the reason why that little person is in my head, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if other people can relate to it or not. That was the case for me. I think it's probably a lot to do with that famous Ira Glass quote, which is that there's a gulf between your skill and your taste. Your taste, he said, is killer. And what you want to be doing, but your skill is not anywhere close to that. And because you have good taste, you can see that your stuff is not good, and the only way to close the gap between your skill and your taste, Ira Glass said, was to make a volume of work, and so I could see very clearly in those early days that this was not The Great Gatsby. It was not even like 50 Shades of Grey. It was not Twilight. It was not there. And that's frustrating because you just want to fast forward to the time when you are practiced, but you can't do that. And then I started sitting down to write, and this whole emotional gauntlet just slapped me in the face. And I'm like, what is this? And I say in the book, like, even today, even writing this book, the good day, bad day ratio, it never tipped. At the most, it was equal bad to equal good, but wow. Compared to what it was at the beginning, it's great. And I'll take it. 3.5 good days a week is enough to complete a long-term project.
Mm-hmm. And so with this book, what was your schedule like? Was it similar to the way, like, because I noticed gaps on your channel where you weren't uploading. So yeah. Did you just work on the book and not make videos for the most part, or how did you balance that?
Well, it was weird because I got the deal to write the book at the beginning of COVID, and everybody was saying, and I was thinking to myself, like, oh, this, we were locked down, we were stuck in the home, and I was like, oh, this is the perfect time to write, like, just free time, to do that. But I found, in the beginning, I found it really hard to focus. I think it was just the craziness of those first few months of COVID. I think maybe other people can, relate to that. But the second piece of it was that I'm a procrastinator. And when you give me a year deadline, that is the equivalent of saying you have infinity amount of time to do this.
Yeah, it's not good. Especially being a YouTuber, that internet years are like 7 human years. Yeah. So that seems like it'll never come.
So I had already decreased the number of videos on the channel. I only do about 8 or 10 a year now, and I have been doing that for the last few years. But so the first few months, they just flew by. Writing this book, like, I didn't do it perfectly with this book, but it did teach me a little bit about time management. I'm so bad at time management, but it taught me a little bit, like, clearly I'm a stick person and not a carrot person. Like, I need the deadline to motivate me. And with a deadline that's so far in advance, it couldn't get me there. And so after a few months, when I could sort of see the deadline on the horizon, that's when it really started kicking into gear. Then I would sit down and just work every day. I'm a morning person. And so I can work until about 4. That's when my brain just, can't do focused creative work anymore. And so I wake up early and try to get as much done as I can. A lot of distractions, as you guys I'm sure know, you lose a lot of time, but there was enough time to cobble enough there. And then I didn't finish by the deadline, and I kindly had to ask for another couple months, which they kindly gave to me, and I was able to finish then. But that was my schedule. Once I could see the deadline on the horizon and started, that fear of deadline coming up, then I started getting motivated, and then I started writing.